And welcome to experiment number 2. We're just starting where the other one left off. We're basically going to continue with the control voltages for pitch like we started with the last pedal experiment. The whole point of this experiment is just to work on the quantization. So how we're going to go from the constant changing voltage, which makes it hard to play an exact note, to the specific notes coming out. We can do it on the control voltage side, but we're going to try it on the MIDI side when we finally change this all to MIDI. And the reason is we have to go to discrete notes anyway, and we should get the quantization as a side effect. And we're going to see how musical that's going to sound. And this is our setup for this experiment. So for our first part of this experiment, it's pretty basic actually. We just have a low frequency oscillator here, and I happen to have it running through a little attenuator here, but basically it's putting out from probably nearly 0 to probably about 5 volts or so. It's not that important how much right now. And then we just have that going over to this sound module, and we're just using that right here to control the pitch. So what we're first going to hear is just the same thing we heard with my foot, but just continuous, essentially a triangle wave. So that's all you're hearing is that triangle wave. You can kind of see if I adjust this speed here, you're just hearing that control voltage driving that oscillator. So the point here is you can hear, just like with the foot pedal, we got the same issue with just continuous tone and not notes, and that's what we're going to address here in a second. Okay, so we're not all that different right now. Now all we've done is we still coming out the same low frequency oscillator for our voltage, still going through the same attenuator, so all that's the same. But instead of before, we went straight into that being what made our pitch, what note we played. Now instead, we're coming out to the control voltage input of our MIDI converter, and then I'm actually driving that same sound module, but now I'm driving it with this MIDI. So I'm coming in the MIDI. So now we're actually driving it with the MIDI, what's actually a known odd message with the MIDI note number, instead of previously with the direct control voltage. I did add a trigger wire, and that's just because we're setting a MIDI note message, so it does need the note on part of that event. So I did have to have a little trigger, but as far as the experiment goes, the whole point is that we're now going, instead of a direct control voltage for pitch, we're going and quantizing it through the MIDI. And then so when you hear this, it should sound the same, but as it sweeps, you should now hear it stepping through notes instead of sweeping. It's just stopping at the bottom. It's actually continuing, but that happens to be the lowest range I've set right now, so it's actually dipping below that note. You don't hear it, but probably if I go a higher octave. Alright, that theory was wrong, but anyway, it's doing the main point here, which is it's quantizing the notes.